Hey, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast English POC by V. I'm your host, Emily, and today we're diving into one of the most talked about topics in the modern workforce, the gig economy. Is it freedom, or is it fragility? Joining me today is my good friend and expert in the field, John. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, Emily. It's great to be here.
So, today we're discussing the pros and cons of gig work, a growing trend in how people make a living. But before we get into that, John, can you briefly introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them why this topic is so important to you?
Absolutely. I'm John, and I've spent the last decade studying changes in the workforce, particularly how technology and innovation are reshaping how people work. The gig economy is one of the most exciting, but also complex, developments we're seeing. It's not just about the flexibility it offers, it's about the long-term implications for workers and companies.
That's a great intro, John. For those unfamiliar with gig work, it refers to short-term, freelance, or contract work, often facilitated by digital platforms. Think of services like Uber, Upwork, and Fiverr. It's been growing significantly in recent years, especially with the rise of technology. John, can you explain why we've seen this explosion in gig work?
Sure, Emily. The gig economy has exploded for a few reasons. First, the digital age has made it easier to connect workers with short-term tasks. Whether you're offering a service or need a quick job done, platforms now make that match instantly. Second, people are craving more flexibility. Traditional 9-to-5 jobs don't suit everyone's lifestyle anymore, and gig work offers an alternative.
That's true. The freedom to work when and where you want is really appealing to a lot of people. Now, let's break this down further. What are the biggest advantages gig work offers to workers?
One of the biggest benefits is flexibility. Gig workers have control over their schedules, they can work when it suits them. Whether you're a student, parent, or someone with another job, gig work allows you to take on tasks at your own pace.
That sounds amazing. Having the power to decide your work hours must be incredibly freeing.
Exactly. Another benefit is variety. Many gig workers enjoy the chance to explore different industries and job types. One week you might be driving for Uber, the next you could be doing freelance graphic design. There's a lot of diversity in the work.
And what about income potential? I've heard gig workers can often earn more by picking up extra jobs or taking on higher-paying gigs.
Yes, that's true. There's an opportunity for workers to increase their income based on effort. If you're willing to work more hours or take on additional tasks, you can boost your earnings. It's also a way to test the waters in different fields without being tied down to one company or role.
It really seems like gig work offers workers freedom and autonomy over their lives. But what about specific groups, like students or parents? Do they benefit more from this?
Absolutely. Gig work is great for people who need that flexibility, like students balancing school or parents managing childcare. It offers them the chance to earn money while keeping control over their time.
Of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. What are some of the major downsides that gig workers face, John?
The biggest challenge is the lack of stability. Gig work often means inconsistent income. You could have a great month and then a slow one, which makes budgeting difficult. There's no guaranteed paycheck.
That's tough, especially for people relying on a steady income. And I imagine the lack of benefits is a big issue as well.
Absolutely. Unlike traditional jobs, gig workers don't get benefits like health insurance, paid time off, or retirement plans. You're essentially responsible for everything yourself. That can be a big challenge, particularly when it comes to long-term financial security.
That's a major concern. What about job security? Can gig workers rely on these platforms to always provide work?
No, that's another challenge. Gig workers often rely on platforms that can change their algorithms or policies without notice, affecting the availability of work. Plus, there's limited career advancement. It's hard to move up or scale a career as a gig worker. You're often stuck at the same level.
So, gig work presents some serious challenges for workers, but what about companies? What are the main benefits for businesses?
For companies, gig workers offer incredible flexibility. They can scale their workforce up or down based on demand without the overhead costs of full-time employees. It's cost-effective because businesses don't have to pay for benefits like healthcare or retirement.
That sounds like a win for companies, especially during peak times or project-based work.
Exactly. It's especially useful in industries like retail, delivery services, and tech, where the demand for workers fluctuates. Gig workers can fill in the gaps and provide specialized skills as needed.
But it's not all smooth sailing for businesses either, right? What challenges do companies face when relying on gig workers?
One major issue is maintaining consistency and quality. Gig workers aren't always as invested in the company since they're not full-time employees. They may not have the same level of commitment, which can impact performance and reliability.
I can see how that would be difficult, especially for businesses trying to maintain high standards.
Definitely. There's also the challenge of building a cohesive company culture when much of your workforce is temporary or remote. It can be hard to instill values and maintain team spirit when people are constantly coming and going.
So, looking ahead, do you think the gig economy is sustainable in the long run? Where do you see it heading?
The gig economy isn't going anywhere, but it will need to evolve. We're already seeing changes in regulations to offer gig workers more protections, like benefits and better working conditions. For companies, they'll have to balance the benefits of flexibility with a more sustainable model that invests in their workforce.
And what about technology? How do you see it shaping the future of gig work?
Technology is at the heart of the gig economy, and it will continue to evolve. Automation and AI could impact gig work as well, either by creating new opportunities or by reducing the demand for certain types of jobs. Workers will need to keep upskilling to stay relevant in this changing landscape.
That's a lot of great information, John. It's clear that gig work offers both freedom and fragility for workers and businesses alike. It will be interesting to see how it evolves in the coming years.
Absolutely. The key takeaway is that while gig work offers flexibility, it's important for both workers and companies to recognize the potential downsides and plan for the future.
Thanks for joining me today, John, and shedding light on this important topic.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We'll be back soon with more discussions on the future of work. Until next time, take care and keep thriving in the gig.